Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guide. And on this channel, we pull back the curtain on private aviation. Whether you're a buyer or a broker or an aspiring broker, we help you buy and sell private jets without wasting time, losing money, and with no experience necessary. Today, we're going to be talking about, are you ready to be a private jet broker? We're going to go through the actual test, the final evaluation. If you go and check out our Jet Life University online, and that's where you receive a certificate to be a jet broker, a certificate of completion, because there is no license certification to become a jet broker, but this is a certificate of completion of the online course. We're going to go through some of the questions that are going to be on that final evaluation to see if you are ready to go. As always, we are live. So if you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comment section below. Would love to connect with you online, answer whatever questions you might have, whether you're a buyer or a aspiring broker. So let's get into it today. Here is the buyers and sellers final examination. So we're going to go through these questions one by one. And if anything kind of jogs your brain, you're like, oh, I want to know more about that, go ahead and post it in the comment section below. So let's take a look at it. And I'm going to give you some of the answers, but I'm not going to give you all the answers. So let's take a look at, based on the workbook, which is not a reason why people buy private jets. There's a lot of different reasons why people will buy private jets. And in this case, one of them is not going to be for the gram. I don't advise people buy private jets for the gram, but rather there's time savings, there's tax write-off, there's safety and security reasons. Maybe you're trying to go to a remote destination and, they don't fly there anymore. Or maybe you're used to going somewhere and you always have to take a connecting flight. Well, with your own private jet, you can go direct to your destination. Maybe you just want to be able to work more efficiently on your travels. So a private jet makes a lot more sense. So all different reasons why people want to buy a private jet. We also go into why people want to sell their jet. You'll see that's the next question, which is not a reason people sell their jets. And there's all kinds of reasons. It could be, because they don't use it anymore. It costs them too much money. Maybe there's a change in their mission or they want an upgrade. They need something faster. They need something with more seats. They need something with more cabin space. A lot of reasons to sell their jet. One of the reasons not to sell their jet is, of course, because it fits their mission. So I'm going to keep going on this, but I'm really just kind of curious, what is on your mind. So if you guys are here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Hayden, always here on time. It's great seeing you, my friend. So let's go on to, how do we get a listing? Right? There's 4 components to getting the listing. Obviously, we need to get the listing agreement signed at some point. We need to make phone calls to get it done. We need to learn the market. And then obviously we need to present the offer. We need to ask for the close. But what is the correct order to do that in? We go through that through the course. And we also go into further detail, like what does it look like to learn the market? Like, what does that really mean? And so, learning the market is going to involve, we actually just redid our training video on this, but we show you how to learn the market using Controller, using Global Air specs, using Chat GPT. So those are all 3 resources that you can use for free to learn more about the market. And then obviously, if you're looking to be a professional, we use the paid services like JetNet, like AmpStat, that give us market data so that you can learn about a specific make and model and speak intelligently about it. And the most important part is it doesn't take years and years and years of experience. It takes maybe a week to kind of get up to speed with a given make and model. And so I share that with you because I want people to understand that, like, becoming a private jet broker is something very achievable. It's something that, that you can do, and you don't need an aviation background. You don't need to know how to fly a plane like a pilot to sell jets. You don't need to know how to fix planes like a mechanic to sell jets. You just need to know enough about the market to speak intelligently about it and be willing to talk with people. Like, really, this business comes down to relationships, your ability to put yourself out there to try to start relationships, and your ability to follow up and nurture those relationships. If you're able and willing to do that, then you can be successful as an aircraft broker. Let's see what else we got. Excuse me. Which is not one of the 8 components of selling a listing. Okay. Let's talk about LOIs and all of the documents that you're going to need when it comes to being a private jet broker. LOI is, of course, a letter of intent. And the purpose of the letter of intent is simply to give an outline of a deal. Tell us who are the parties, who's buying the aircraft, how much do they want to pay for the aircraft, what do they want to do for a pre-buy, are they expecting the owner to fix all the squawks, or is this an as is, where is deal? Where's the pre-buy going to take place? All those types of things. And what's important about the LOI is that you understand this concept that a deal is not just about how much you want to pay for an aircraft. So sometimes somebody will come up to me and be like, hey, will the seller take, we're asking $1 million for a jet. Will the seller take on 800 grand? I'm like, I don't know. That depends. Like, are you going to do 800 grand and expect the pre-buy to take place at Textron Service Center, and you want him to fix all the squawks that are in there, and you want to do a full phase 1 through 5 inspection as your pre-buy? Then probably not. But is this $800,000? You're going to come to the aircraft, you're going to look at the logs, you're going to take it for a test flight, and you're going to spend 1 day with it for a pre-buy, and you'll either accept it or reject it as is, where is. You're not going to have any, responsibilities to the seller. You make it easy for him to sell you the aircraft. Well, maybe he might be open to that deal, even though it's a lower price point, because the terms of the deal are better. So the LOI is going to tell us the overall foundations of the deal. Let's see if we've gotten some more questions. What's up, Ben? How much commission does a typical jet broker make when selling a jet? That's a terrific question. Let me pop this out. So when it comes to a typical commission on selling a jet, it really depends. It really comes down to what you're able to negotiate yourself. So for us, we have been selling primarily $3 million and below aircraft, and a typical ask will be 4 to 6% of the sales price based on the total sales price of the deal. And so we can make a commission anywhere from $5,000-$10,000 all the way up to $125,000 on a given aircraft. Now, while knowing what a typical commission on a jet is important, if you're going to be working for a broker, the other important thing to notice is going to be, what is your commission split? Most brokerages, when you're getting started, you're looking at a 40-60 split, where you're going to get 40% of your commission and you're going to give the company 60% of that commission. And I get it. That's fine. That makes sense, especially the first couple of years when you're getting started. But by the time I was at my 3rd year, I was one of the top agents at the brokerage I was working at. And I asked my boss, like, can we adjust my commission? And it was like, no, we can't. This is what it's going to be. You're a salesperson. This is the split. And I just wasn't satisfied with that. I figured there had to be a better way. And so when I started bringing on brokers with Jet Life Aero, I said, our commission split is going to be competitive. That the more you sell, the more you should make. And so the way that it's set up with Jet Life Aero is you start at 40% and then you grow all the way up to 80%. So right now, Alex, who's one of our top brokers, he's at an 80% commission split. So his next deal, which he negotiated a potential listing to be, I think it's like $80,000. So $80,000, and he's going to keep 80% of that. He's going to make $64,000 on his next deal for one listing. And so, yeah, that's kind of how the listings get broken down. That's a great question, Ben. I appreciate it. And if you want to find out more about that, check out circle.jetlifeaero.com. That is, there's our Circle community where you can find out more about that, learn about becoming a jet broker. We actually have a free course there as well. So check that out. All right. Next question. So we went over some of the documents. Let's talk about a commission agreement. Okay. What is a commission agreement used for? Is it to make an offer? Is it to spell out terms of a deal? It's to make sure a broker has exclusivity and gets paid. Broker gets paid for a single deal and enlists the service of a broker to help someone buy a jet. So the commission agreement is to make sure you get paid for a single deal. And the reason why this is important is because before you, let's say you have a buyer, before you show him any jet, especially if the jet's on the market, but typically you won't show them on the market because he's already aware of what's on the market. Before you present an aircraft to a buyer, you need to make sure you know how you're getting paid. And so, of course, you can ask the seller, hey, if I bring you a buyer, will you pay me a commission? That's where a commission agreement would come in because typically that person doesn't want to do an exclusive listing agreement. So it wouldn't be to make sure you have exclusivity. It would be to make sure you get paid for a single deal. And usually on that commission agreement, it says, okay, John Smith seller will pay Tom Lelio, the broker, a commission if he sells the plane to Bill Allen, the buyer, and it lists the buyer and seller so that this is subject to this single deal. Okay, this is not something that's going to extend into the forever, indefinitely. This is just for a single deal. That's why we have a commission agreement, and that's why it's really important to have that because a buyer can go around you if there's another broker involved, or maybe he doesn't want to pay you, and so he'll go directly to the seller. This protects you and makes sure that you get paid for the work that you did in order to present the seller to the buyer. So the commission agreement is very important. And the other one I would talk to you about is the acquisition agreement. The acquisition agreement is used to enlist the service of a broker to help someone buy a jet. So a lot of times I'll have people come up to me like, hey, I got a guy that wants a Gulfstream. Like I just had someone email me. I got a guy that wants a Gulfstream. All right. Well, I will ask them, do you have a signed acquisition agreement or a signed mandate to buy this jet? And they usually say no. And that just raises red flags for me. To me, it appears like it's less real. And so usually the pushback is like, well, the guy he won't sign an acquisition agreement. Well, you got to ask him why he won't sign it. He wants to keep his options open. Okay. Well, who is he asking? Because if he just has a bunch of people going around asking brokers for off-market Gulfstreams, brokers aren't going to trust that guy. So if you had an agreement, then a broker would take that guy more seriously and help you get more options if you actually, enlisted his services by signing an agreement and paying him for his services. So what else we got? And again, like I said, thank you so much, guys, for being here today. If you have questions about this, shoot them in the comments below because I'd love to answer some more questions. Okay, let's see. We've got another question from Ben. Great questions, Ben. Let's keep it up, man. Okay, is there data monthly subscriptions when being a private jet broker? So you can be a jet broker and know and understand the marketplace and have deals happen for little to no costs. You can use Controller, you can reach out to brokers, talk to brokers, keep a spreadsheet of the inventory that the brokers have, what they have off market, and kind of try to put deals together. You can go to events and you can reach out to people via LinkedIn to find high net worth individuals that want to buy or sell. You can network with exotic car dealers, private bankers. There's ways to do this that you don't have any expenses on a monthly basis, but the typical monthly expenses for a jet broker will include a subscription to a database like JetNet or AMSAT. That could cost $600-700 per month for access to that. And then depending on what kind of information or data you want, it can cost more. Once you get listings, you'll have a monthly subscription to controller.com. That's $400 a month. So just getting started, you're $1,000 a month so far. You might also have, if you want to use a Google Voice number, that's not like a free Google Voice. You can also have subscriptions to other platforms like Trade-A-Plane beyond Controller. You're also going to have costs associated with taking photos for an airplane. That could be $800. That could be $2,000. So there are going to be costs that are going to be ongoing to be a broker. That's why joining a brokerage up front makes a lot of sense because they handle all the overhead for you. And, with JetLife Aero, the way that our brokerage works is that you pay $399 a month for ongoing training and support. So we still handle all that stuff for you, but you're only paying $399 a month as opposed to paying over $1,000 a month for your ongoing stuff when you're first getting started. You'll also have, if you were a jet broker at United, I advise you to get E&O insurance. So that's going to be maybe $100, $200 a month for insurance coverage. You're going to have rent if you're going to be renting an office space or something along those lines. That's a couple $100. So there are expenses, but you can do this without it. It's just a little bit harder, less professional, but it is possible to do that, to try to negate as many of those expenses as possible. Let's see. Oh, Adrian asked a great question, kind of similar to piggybacking off the other question, is why do most people work for a brokerage firm and not themselves? The pros of working with a brokerage is, first of all, name recognition. So if I call up someone and I'm like, hey, I'm Tom with Jet Life Aero, as compared to like, hey, my name's Tom with like Tom's Jets, there can be name recognition depending on how big the brokerage is. You also benefit from the brokerage's experience, and so you have other brokers working with you. You have their training programs that the brokerage will help train you. They're handling all your overhead, like controller, like JetNet, like photos. You're not paying that out of your pocket when you're first getting started. And so there's a lot of benefits that kind of come with working with a brokerage. However, there's some cons there. I mean, you're at the will of their brand. And so if they're doing things or not doing things as far as marketing and branding is concerned that you feel like you could add and they're not on board with it, well, you're going to be, you're going to be hamstring there. Their compensation plan, it's up to them. And so, if they stay at 40% for the entirety of your career, well, now you're kind of stuck and you can't build from there. That's your commission split. If they don't have a training program, or if their training program is only when you get started and they don't have ongoing training, well, you're going to have to pay for that on your own. I mean, I spent tens of thousands of dollars to get sales and marketing training outside of my company because we didn't have a program that was presenting that on a daily basis. We didn't do role playing. So I had to practice on my customers, on my potential clients. And that's not a good place to be in. You want to be in an environment that values education and training and growth. So those are some of the reasons why people will join brokerages, the pros and the cons of it. Okay, before we get back, Ben's got another question. I love these questions. Keep them coming. Like, I'd much rather answer your questions today than I would be going through, the training here. So could you do this part-time while still working full-time? Yes and no. The short answer is yes. You just need to, what it comes down to is expectations. So here's what I tell everybody. When I first started, I had no aviation experience. And my first year, I sold 20 jets and I made six figures, over $100,000 my first year. Then the second year, I sold 20 jets again and I doubled my income because they were better commissions. And then my third year, I almost tripled my income from that to bring over $500,000 in my third year by selling 20 plus jets for that year. Now, because I have done that and I know what I did, that's my promise to you. That's my proposal to anybody who wants to come work as a jet broker and especially train under Jet Life Aero. Okay. So if I did that working full time, again, making six figures my first year, selling 20 jets, if you're going to do it part-time, then our expectations just need to be set correctly. So if you're only going to work half the time, it's going to take you twice as long to make six figures and sell 20 jets. Now that's based on if you're actually doing the work of making 50 to 100 calls a day. If you're making 25 to 50 calls a day, well, it's going to take you twice as long to do what I did. That's just having the correct expectation. So there's definitely a place for people who want to start to dip their toe in aviation as a broker part-time, as long as the expectations are understood by yourself and the person that you want to help you achieve that. So you can definitely do it part-time, but it may not be, the juice might not be worth the squeeze. And you might just find yourself being frustrated and being like, oh, this takes forever. And you can find yourself not getting the kind of momentum you want. That would be the only caution I would have. But there's definitely people that do it part-time. Maybe they do it one or two deals a year. Maybe they're a mechanic. Maybe they're a pilot. Maybe they have something full-time that they're satisfied with. And there's not like this need to make a change. I had to make a change. I was a youth pastor living paycheck to paycheck. I had to make a change and start a career. So I had to hit the ground running. Some people don't need that. And so they can start part-time and they're just satisfied with one or two deals a year that brings them, an extra $10,000, $20,000 in a single deal. So it's really up to you. All right, let's check out a few more questions. But there's like right now we currently have like 60 questions for this certification. As you go through the course itself, and let me show this to you, just so like I said, you go to circle.jetlifearrow.com. There's a free course. Okay, this is all free right here. The discussion thread where you can ask any questions that you have. You know, you can introduce yourself, make connections. We also have resources like our listing checklist, how taxes work. We've got a marketplace where you can post aircraft that you're looking for. Maybe you have someone that's looking for something, okay? Or maybe you have something for sale. Here's a Mustang for sale, okay? We also have more training where you can check out more videos on specific topics. We've got community events where you can connect with, like we got Building Better Networks coming up tomorrow, Thursday. This is a great place. It's a free resource for people to learn, you know, or to connect with other aviation professionals. We've got our live stream here. We've got a GLADA webinar that's popping up. So lots of stuff coming up on the community events. And then, of course, we have our free course. So this is for people who want to learn about becoming a jet broker, but they, you know, they're not ready to spend however much is the course. When you're watching this right now, it's $2,500. So I would check that out. The free course. We also have details over here about how the Jet Life Arrow brokers work, so you can check that out. And then when you're ready, you can come to the university. So the university is what we use, you know, to give someone a certificate of completion to become a jet broker. If you want to become a jet broker, it's 24 lessons. It's about 5 hours long. And this is, we teach how aviation works, how to become a professional, what is the sales framework when you're making a call, overview of the documents, and then our final evaluation. So that's what we're going over today with this final evaluation. So let's go over a few more of the questions that we got going on here. Which is not a characteristic you would need to know about to give about a given make and model to do market research? Well, we want to know what the performance is. We know what they can do. We want to know about the common upgrades programs. We want to know about market averages. Brokers in the market, not super important, but helpful. You definitely want to make contact with brokers in the market and introduce yourself and make yourself known and help them in any way that you can. But I would not say that that's necessary when you're doing market research. You're not going to tell an owner what their jet is worth based on. I'm like, and by the way, you know, Alex Strohmeyer is a good broker you should work with. Like, now that wouldn't be part of your pitch. You would just tell them, hey, like, you're looking to upgrade into a Phenom 100 from your 501. Great. Here's how far they can go, how many people they can take with you, what's the direct operating cost. You know, common upgrades might include a rigid door or a belted lav. They usually have EEC enhanced on that EEC program on the airframe and ESP program on the engines. And their average, the average years of 2010, average asking price is $2 million, and the average airframe time is, 2,000 hours. Okay, that's the information you're going to want to give a potential buyer or an owner when they're asking what their jet is worth or what an upgrade path would look like. All right. When we talk about how do you call on listings, you know, because there's a lot of value in calling on current listings. We don't want to avoid that. Number one, we want the opportunity to network with the brokers and introduce ourselves. And some listings will say call for price. So we need that data, that price data. So we definitely want to ask the ask price. We definitely want to know if there's any foreign history or damage history. We want to know why the owner is selling. Is this a fire sale, or he needs to get rid of it? Or is this just like, I'll see what the market does. I want $3 million for my $2 million jet. We don't really need to know how many hours the pilot has. That's not really part of calling on listings. So just a few questions there. Now let's go back to looks like we got a few more questions from the crowd. Okay, great question from Adrian. Is this job too risky for a student that just graduated? I would refer you to Mr. Alex. Alex Strohmeyer is a broker with Jet Life Arrow. He graduated from the Ohio State. And then he took a year off to do finance. And now he's in a position where he is a full-time jet broker. Within 6 months, he was bringing in about $60,000 take home pay after doing 2 deals. Took his foot off the gas a little bit, but you know, he's been living comfortably. He is going for his pilot certification so he can be a pilot, with it. And so, I don't know all of the background of his finances, but I can tell you he's an example of someone who recently graduated and is doing it. We also have Gabe right now, who is a broker with Jet Life Aero, 19 years old. He's working as a broker and looking to close his first deal in the next week. We're hoping. It's been pushed back a few times, but that's an example of somebody else. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what do you mean by too risky? Listen, you're not going to get paid for 6 to 9 months. Can you find a way to keep a roof over your head and food on the table for 6 to 9 months? And that might mean getting a job at night so that you work doing your phone calls from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., 5 p.m. And then you work from 6 to 10 o'clock at a restaurant, just to make enough money to keep food on the table. If you're a recently graduated student, you don't have a wife and kids and other people depending on you, you might be able to do something along those lines. Would I advise someone to quit their job that's providing for their family to be a jet broker? That's no commission for 6 to 9 months. Well, that's up to you and your family if you guys can do that. But here's, I guess, the big thing I would say is being a jet broker is simple. Okay, you're cold calling, but it's not easy because you're cold calling. You're literally building a relationship with someone. You're calling a high net worth individual, someone who has had great success in their life to the point where they can afford $1 million asset that costs them $250,000 every year just to have it sit there. Okay. And you're like, hey, you don't know me. I'm a random stranger, but can I sell your $1 million, $2 million, $3 million asset for you? That's a big ask. And so you need to be able to come across as professional, come across as reliable and trustworthy only through the phone. What I have found is some people are in sales that come into being jet brokers and they're thrown off by the phones a little bit because they don't have a captive audience. They're used to a captive audience. Let's schedule a sales meeting. They're used to the captive audience, and these people are not captive audiences. You're interrupting their day, and they're used to being able to read individuals' body language. And so that's tough when you don't have that anymore. It becomes a challenge for you. And so if you can overcome that stuff, then it's less risky. If that completely freaks you out, well, that's why we have the training. We'll show you a few things in the free course. And if it still makes sense to you, well, that's why you buy the full training package, because the full training package also includes working with me directly for a few days. So I will train you one-on-one so that you're ready to go, and you can make an informed decision of like, okay, I'm ready to do this on my own, or no, I need to work with a brokerage. So that's what I would say about whether or not it's too risky. Good question, Adrian. I appreciate it. All right, got a few more questions. Again, keep throwing your questions out there, guys. We're going to wrap up soon in the next 3 minutes or so. But Ben's asking, can you hire a virtual assistant to make phone calls? You can definitely hire a VA to make phone calls, although if the end goal is to build relationships, I think putting a virtual assistant before yourself and trying to make that relationship happen, it can be an obstacle. Now, I have worked with virtual assistants for if I have a buyer that needs something, I'll have my virtual assistant call through a market and she'll say, hey, listen, we're looking for a Phenom 100 that can go on a charter certificate. Are you open to off-market offers? And if they say yes, then okay, they'll schedule a call with me. And so that's effective and efficient, but I need to have a reason. It's harder for me just to have a virtual assistant call me like, hey, are you thinking about selling your jet? Because then they have to kind of build a relationship, and I want to build that relationship with the owners myself and not have somebody else do it. So you can use a virtual assistant, but I think there's better use cases for using a virtual assistant, and those use cases are going to be few and far between, especially when you're first starting out. Ben's asking, how much is the training? So as of today, the full Jet Life Aero University is $2,500. That includes one-on-one training with me. At the end of that course, it's 5 hours long with 24 videos. You'll take a 60+ question value evaluation. And if you pass that with 90% or better, we issue you a certificate of completion for taking the Jet Broker course. And it also, like I said, includes training with me. And when you train with me, the goal of that time together is to discover, do you want to do this on your own? Do you want to do it with another brokerage? I will write you a letter of recommendation and you'll have the certification of completion of the course. or do you want to come work with Jet Life Aero? Those are kind of like your three options. And then we also have, when you come working with Jet Life Aero, there is a monthly desk fee that covers ongoing coaching and your overhead. So basically what you're looking at is for right now, it's a $7,500 investment. And our goal is for your first year to make $100,000. So I think trading 7,500 for 100 grand is well worth it. But that's a decision you kind of have to make on your own. Last but not least, Joshua, what's going on, Joshua? Good to hear from you, man. Okay. What events should we look at going to get your name out? I think that there's a couple of different events. There are a few different ways to get your name out. For me, I think getting my name out using social media has been huge because it allows me to connect with a lot of people on an ongoing basis, and I don't have to necessarily go anywhere. So just going to LinkedIn, to Facebook groups, on Instagram, finding people who are selling jets, doing what you want them to do, and just introducing yourself and making yourself known, and then continuing to check in by trying to provide value. Hey, I see you got this Phenom 100. Is it okay if I share this on my Instagram story to see if there's maybe any buyers in my network? I'm sure most brokers would be okay with that. I would be okay with that. If you want to start posting jets on your Instagram, come to my Jet Life Aero Instagram page and just share the carousels on your story. And if you bring us a buyer, we'll cut you in on the commission. Done. That's super easy. Maybe you ask a broker, hey, is there anything that you're looking for? Yeah, I'm looking for a Phenom 300. Okay. Well, now you can go talk to other brokers and, say, hey, who's looking for a 300, and try to put a deal together. That's the best way to solidify a relationship, is putting deals together. Other events and things that you can go to GLADA, the GLADA website. GLADA.aero is a network of brokers and other industry professionals. You can join that group to network and be known there, but it may not lead to sales, but it will lead to relationships, which eventually will lead to sales. And you can also check out NBAA, National Business Aviation Association. That's a great organization to be a part of. And they have regional events. So they'll have a few in Florida. And the big one is in October 22nd to the 24th in Las Vegas is the BASE, the Business Aviation Convention. It's going to be, it's huge, thousands of people. I talked about it on, I think 2 weeks ago. You'll see I did a whole video on how to go to BASE and how you should schedule yourself and plan yourself out there. So that's a lot of fun. So those are just a few events to get your name out there. For me, I think social media is the biggest way to leverage, because you can leverage your time, and it's a lot easier to do so than trying other ways. So definitely check that out. And yes, Ben, the course is $2,500 for the training plus $399 a month if you want to keep working. If you want to work with Jet Life Aero, otherwise you can just do the $2,500 course and the training and kind of do your own thing. So you've got some options. So I appreciate you guys hanging out today. Don't forget to check out circle.jetlifeaero.com. It's a fantastic community where you can learn how to be a jet broker with no experience and completely free of charge. Or if you want to, you can check out the courses as well. But I will see you guys next week.